Classical Music Readers, Level 1, The Works of Joseph Haydn. Copyright 2023, Seed Learning. All rights reserved. Who was Joseph Haydn? Franz Joseph Haydn, known as Joseph Haydn, was an Austrian composer. He was born in Rauau, Austria, in 1732. Even though he is called the father of the symphony and of the string quartet, he did not invent either one. Haydn had the idea to mix music types. This had a big influence on how we make music today. Haydn's talent was making sure there was variety. He created works that contained several types of music, tempos, and instruments. Haydn's parents understood that their son had a special talent for music. They wanted him to have the chance to develop this talent, so they sent him to live in the city of Heidelberg. He left his parents and lived with a teacher. At age 6, Haydn joined a choir led by his new teacher in Heidelberg. He was then chosen for the famous St. Stephen's Cathedral Choir in Vienna. Haydn became a musician, singing, playing, teaching, and of course, studying. Sadly, his teacher's family did not treat him well. He did not have enough food to eat. His clothes were often dirty. But he learned a lot about music. His first big chance came in 1761. Prince Paul of Esterházy, who was very rich and loved music, named Haydn as the second choir master at his palace in Eisenstadt, Austria. Haydn became full choir master when Paul's brother Nicholas became the prince. Nicholas built a summer palace at Esterházy, out in the country in Hungary. This faraway location kept Haydn from other composers and musical ideas. Haydn himself felt that living far from others forced him to be more original. Although he was not living in a major city, his music traveled to many places. For many years, Haydn was the most famous composer in Europe. When Prince Nicholas died in 1790, Haydn became a bit more free from the court. He could travel, as long as he called himself the choir master of Esterházy. Haydn made many long visits to London in 1791 to 1792 and in 1794 to 1795. He wrote his last 12 symphonies there. In London, Haydn was very famous. Even the future King George IV bowed to him. The English king and queen wanted Haydn to stay in London. They even said they would buy him an apartment in Windsor. But Haydn said no and went back to the Esterházy court in 1795. Haydn passed away in Vienna in 1809, very loved and respected. Symphony No. 104, 1795. Symphony No. 104 in D major was Joseph Haydn's final symphony. It is the last of his 12 London symphonies. This work is known as the London Symphony, even though he wrote 11 other symphonies in London too. The work opened at the King's Theatre in London. Haydn led the concert himself. In fact, only Haydn's own works were played at this concert. Haydn wrote that the concert hall was filled. He said that the audience and orchestra were happy, and so was he. The symphony begins slowly, as did many of Haydn's works. It becomes stronger and full of energy as it continues. Symphony No. 104 includes a mix of every kind of music that Haydn loved. Trumpet Concerto, 1796. Haydn wrote his Trumpet Concerto in E-flat major for the very talented trumpeter Anton Weidinger. When Haydn wrote the piece, only Weidinger could play it because it was for a trumpet with keys. At the time, it was a whole new idea for a trumpet to have keys. Weidinger's trumpet had 7. Pressing different keys allowed the musician to make many different sounds. Haydn played with the instrument like a child with a new toy. With the first trumpet solo, he has the trumpet running up and down the scale, playing notes impossible on the old kinds of trumpets. From then on, Haydn's concerto music jumps and dances and shows off what the trumpet with keys can really do. The piece is a favorite of both trumpeters and audiences. It has also been called possibly Haydn's most popular concerto. Interestingly, it did not become popular until the 1930s. The Creation, 1798. One of Haydn's most famous works, The Creation, is an oratorio. It is about the creation of the world as described in the book of Genesis in the Bible. So, what is an oratorio? It is a piece of music for orchestra, choir, and solo singers. Haydn wanted a strong sound for his work. At the first performance, there were about 120 musicians and 60 singers. The singers play the parts of the people in the creation story. Haydn used his music to show how God brought order to chaos. The 3 parts each show different details of the creation of our world. Part 1 is about making light, the sun, and moon, land, and water. Part 2 is about making animals and people. Part 3 is about Adam and Eve living happily in love. Haydn thought The Creation was his masterwork, the best of his life as a composer. Many people agree, and it is still one of his most famous works.